All right, yesterday we worked on different types of slope and what those look like: positive, negative, undefined, and zero. Today we're going to talk about how to calculate slope. So to find the value of a slope from a graph, you find the ratio of the vertical change compared to the horizontal change. So right here you're going to write vertical, and vertical is straight up and down. So draw a little arrow straight up and down to help remind you. And that's compared to the horizontal change. And horizontal sounds like horizon. That is side to side. So draw a little arrow there to help remind you as well. We also call that rise over run. We rise first, then we run. To do this, you choose any 2 points on the graphed line. So pick 2 perfect points. And what I mean by a perfect point is 2 points where the line directly crosses through an intersection on your grid. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Then draw a right triangle to count the rise and run. So see, they've done that here. Here's a perfect point. That line crosses perfectly through that intersection right there. Let me zoom in a little. And here's another perfect point. Then they drew their right triangle. They went straight up and straight over, almost. Okay. Then it's easy to count how many spaces up they went and how many spaces over they went. Once you do that, you always simplify your ratio. Simplify your ratio when possible. And remember to check if your graph has a positive or negative slope. If it has a positive slope, you're just going to write the fraction, rise over run, the ratio. If it's a negative slope, if it's going from left to right, if the line is slanting downwards, you're going to write a negative in front of that ratio. Okay, so right here, let's look at this example. The rise is how many? So I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So the rise of the graph shown is 4. The run is 1, 2, 3. 4 over 3. So the slope would be 4 over 3. All right, let's move down to some other examples and talk about these. Okay, they have plotted the perfect points on this one. There's a point right here, and there's a point right here. So I'm going to draw the rise over the run to make it easier for me to count. And it looks like the rise is 1. And the run is 1, 2, 3, 4. So our slope is 1 over 4. On this one, we're going to have to count our perfect points. So it looks like there's a perfect point right here. I see another one right here. If I keep going, that stays about the same. So I'm just going to draw one triangle. I'm going to draw from here to here. But on this one, I have to start at this point to count the rise over the run. So the rise is 1. And the run is 1, 2. But since on this one, I'm having to start at the bottom, or start over here first to count up, and then I have to go left to run, that means it's a negative slope. See how that line is pointing downwards from left to right? That means my ratio is going to be negative. It doesn't matter if you put the negative sign in front of the numerator or denominator, it means the same. So really the whole fraction or ratio is negative. Okay. Right here on this one, here's our perfect point right here at the origin. It looks like we have another perfect point right here where it perfectly crosses an intersection. So let's draw a triangle, up and then over. On this one, the rise is, if we use the scale on our graph, the rise is 9, right? See that 9 right there? So the rise is 9. And the run is, if we use our graph, 2. So 9 over 2. Now one thing on slope, if we can simplify it, but we do not turn it into a mixed number. If it's an improper fraction, leave it like that. We don't change it to a mixed number. This is a positive slope. It's going up from left to right, so we leave it just like it is. All right, let's do 3 more, and then you can practice on your own. On this one, we have our perfect point right here at the origin. And if I keep following it up, it looks like it's a while before I have another perfect point. It's way up here. So I'm going to trace that line up and then straight across. The rise on this one, if you look at your y-axis, is 4. And the run, if you look at the x-axis, we go over 3. That cannot be simplified, so we're going to leave that like it is. It goes up from left to right, so that means it is a positive slope. So we don't add any positive or negative signs to our ratio. That stays like it is. Okay, here we have our vertical line. There's no slope to this. It's just straight up and down, right? So we learned yesterday our vertical lines that are straight up and down are called undefined. And undefined, the way I remember that is up and down. Undefined, up and down. Use those U's to help you out. So if you ever see one like this, you're just going to write undefined. And then here's our last one. Looks like we have a perfect point right here at the origin. Then we're going up 1. It looks like I have another perfect point right here. So let's draw our triangle. Using the scale, it looks like we're going up 2 and over 1. We are going left. We're going -1. So I'm going to make my whole ratio negative. -2 over 1. And we know that it's negative because going left to right, my slope goes down. Now there's one other slope I want to remind you of, not to be confused with undefined, is if we have a slope that looks like this. So let's say here's our graph. Here's our x and y axis. And then we have a line that looks like this. I'll make this one a different color so it's not confusing. Here is our line. Now on that one there is no slope, it's a flat line. So the slope on this one would be 0. So think of something that will help you remember that. Undefined is up and down, side to side is 0. There is no slope, that's flat ground. Slope is 0. Okay, once you have these notes completely written down and glued into your journal, you can click next to practice this on your assignment for today. Be sure to refer to today's notes and yesterday's notes to complete your assignment.